6 months ago, my wife and I bought our first home. And ever since the first time I saw this garage, I knew I wanted some sort of workshop, wood shop area. But as you can see, in the last 6 months, it's just stored all the tools and things I've acquired from relatives and Facebook Marketplace. Well, today, that is going to change. Join me as I try to figure out what the heck to even do with this corner. First things first, welcome. I'm calling this channel Brownell Builds. My last name's Brownell, and I want to build things. Now, I have a sort of passing knowledge of woodworking and building in general. I worked construction in high school. I've done some woodworking things, but it's very limited. My wife and I have plans to do some renovations in the house, so I need a workshop area to do those things anyway. I mainly wanted to try my hand at some woodworking and some crafting, maybe some metalwork, and I need an area to do that. So I do not have a lot of tools right now. I have basically some hand-me-downs and some things that I got off Facebook Marketplace, and I'll get into some of the cooler stuff that I have. I do not have any power tools really, except for some drills, some impact drivers. Don't have a table saw, skill saw, miter saw, don't have a saw yet. I am trying to figure out which of those I want to buy first, because something's needed for cutting down lumber. I do have some hand saws, some Japanese hand saws, but these are all tools I'll get into as I'm cleaning this place up. But what my hope for this channel is just a really raw, documented skill learning progression. Me screwing up a lot, but encouraging that to help me learn and grow and become more knowledgeable. I think as of now I've chatted a lot, and it's time to actually get to cleaning this place because it's not going to clean itself. So why don't we do that right now? All right, we got a good chunk of cleaning done there. As you can see, I got the cardboard and the styrofoam all broke down. There's a ton of cardboard left here from all the new house stuff we were buying. I managed to push this workbench against the wall. I think it's going to live there for now. I got some of my tools on it already. Next thing would be just tidying up the shelves up here. These shelves are eventually going to get replaced, I think, and I'm going to use the wood for some other projects. All these bags, I'm going to have to eventually do a dump run. So for now, I'm just going to move them to the other side of the shop near the exit of the garage. I just want to take a little intermission and show you some of the workbenches that we got. So this guy right here is a hand-me-down from one of my uncles. It is a solid bench. I'm not even sure what it's made out of. It's like basically 3-inch veneered something. It has like little veneer strips on it and on the top. Not a lot of shift going on, and it's got some great sort of storage, shelvings and things like that underneath it. It's 36 and a half inches off the ground, which is a pretty high workbench, but I'm a taller guy, so this is great for just not having to bend over. My other workbench is a proper woodworking bench, which I'll show you in a second because that one's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm thinking this is just going to be like a general workshop station, not particularly geared towards only woodworking. I have my bench grinder here for the lawnmower and things like that. I have a sander down there. I have a belt sander down there. It's just going to live down there for now. Up top here, I have my DeWalt drills. It's an impact drill driver, general purpose toolbox. I have a tote full of random tools and Dremel bits and things like that I've acquired over the years. I do have a few like crowbars and just hammers and sort of metal chisels and things like that. Got a standard like screwdriver set, standard Stanley ratchet set. This is going to be an issue eventually. This is my internet that comes into the garage. It was screwed onto a panel and stuck there. This is the modem and I guess whatever like service provider box. But I want to, and I probably will, move it somewhere. I want to move it either up here in between this sort of duct space right there, or down or over. I'm not really sure what to do with it yet, but I do have to move it out of the way. It's taking up an outlet socket, which isn't ideal, and I only have 3 outlet sockets in this whole garage. And with moving it, I am going to have to build some sort of a box around it, like a protective box with a door. So that's kind of a minor issue with the garage that I can work around and move it. The other issue is, and I don't know if this comes off on camera, but the garage is sloped. From the house wall to the front of the garage, it's about a 9 to 10 inch slope difference. So that can be an issue for just leveling the benches, especially if you run them lengthways like this one is right now. Either get leveling feet, or any other benches that I build in the future, I might have to just build them to the grade of the floor to get them level. Any sort of long workbench that goes along that wall, you know, if I want the corner to be the same level as over here, that's going to be quite a big difference in height. And it might have to actually sit on like a built-up platform or something. It just can't be too high on one end versus the other end. Since I'm over here, I might as well show you this other workbench. I was actually pretty excited to show off this bench. This is actually my grandfather's bench that my uncle had in his basement for the longest time. But this woodworking bench is probably over 30 years old. It's maybe older than me. It probably is older than me. My grandfather acquired it when the local high school, I think, redid their wood shop. He grabbed one of the workbenches from it. And I think this is one of them. It's in pretty rough shape. It's seen a lot of projects. It's got some dings, got some dents. The top area is pretty flat still. There's a little bit of a bow in this lower area, but it does have a really nice woodworker's vise. Just a smaller vise on this end, which actually the knob is missing. That's a project in the future. I can just build a little wood knob and probably glue that on. It does have actually old square dog holds. And if I can grab one of the dog holds, I think my uncle just made these as he needed them. There's like a 2x4 with a little nub that just fits right down in there. Put a peg in the clamp side, clamp it down for some planing work or just to hold something down. But that's pretty nice. It's an older sort of square hole system, but the fact that you can kind of just make your own holds and shove them in is pretty nice. Now, along with this workbench, I actually got this box from my uncle as well. And it's all my grandfather's old chisels and chip carving knives, which is pretty great. There's a couple of pouches with some small chisels in them. There's a nice set of lathe calipers, I believe, just taking a rough size of something and taking it over to another piece. Custom mallet. It's in rough shape. We got a set of chip carving knives, which I'll get into in a second. And we have a big pouch of chisels. And these are all my grandfather's old chisels. Marples, Sheffield, England. These seem to be actual carving chisels. And they vary in size. I've tried to organize it a bit in this pouch, but they go from 1/2 inch down to a 1/16 inch wide. And then the rest of the box is just kind of a lot of rough chisels. Like that used to be the end of a screwdriver that clearly was ground into a chisel. Quite a deep chisel on that. I don't know what you'd call that, really. Again, if anyone knows, please drop it in the comments what the proper name for these are. And the last thing is basically a sharpening stone. Now, the cool thing about all this is the chip carving set. My grandfather was a really prominent chip carver, and he made these sort of custom chip carving knives. They're basically a nice wood handle with a small hooked blade for doing chip carving. And if you don't know what chip carving is, I have an example here. This is actually a piece my grandfather gave me to practice on when I was a kid. It's an owl. You can see you take these sort of like chips out of the design to make a sort of carved design look on the wood. He was a very talented chip carver. He won a lot of awards. This guy, my uncle actually had this guy in the basement. This was the top of a stool. This was clearly a stool that he got halfway through carving because there's one side that's carved and the other side's not. So he never got around to finishing this one or just went on to other projects. But my uncle had this in the basement of his place and he let me have it. I thought it would be a pretty cool thing to eventually finish the other side of this. And I think carving into this side it would obviously look more fresh. It would basically be a nice little sort of grandfather did this side and I did this side. And I can hang it on a wall. I think it would look good in the shop, just on the wall somewhere. But that's a cool little box my uncle had in his basement from my grandfather. The bench plus this, I'm so lucky that I could actually acquire these tools and that my uncle kept them for so long. Especially these chip carving knives from my grandfather. It's really cool that I get to have these. And of course, just the chisel set in general. My grandfather was quite a woodworker. He did a lot of woodworking. He made furniture for the family, chip carving for competitions. And it's cool to think that these chisels had a hand in that. Actually, in my hometown, there's a heritage park with a plaque that he carved and gave to the town. If I can get a picture and put it in the video, I will. It's inside of a glass case. It's protected from the weather. It's a big, round, hand-carved sign. He did it as a homage to the town's woodworking roots. So yeah, he was quite the woodworker, and I'm very fortunate and lucky to have some of his tools still. And of course, the bench, which I'm sure has seen a lot of projects, and hopefully many more to come. But now that we did that, I wanted to get back to cleaning up the top shelf and just tidying up the garage so I can maybe get the car back in. I'm going to move all this garbage out of that corner. And I'm not really sure what I want to do with this workbench. I'm not sure if I want to push it against the wall. Eventually, I do want to build a sort of 2x4 assembly table right here. It would be nice to keep this out here just so I can make the most out of the clamps. For now, let's tidy up some of these shelves so I can get some of the remaining tools that are on the ground up onto the shelves. Let's get to it. All right, and there you have it. This is a far cry from what it was for sure. I've got to figure out a place for my bike, but right now it's going right there. I moved the bench closer this way, and I've decided to keep it a floating bench for now. I think it'll be good for just assembly table for now, and of course I want to use the clamps, and the best way to use the clamps is having it as a floating island. I reorganized the shelves somewhat. I've got household stuff on this end now, closer to the interior garage door. And I have some tools and paint and wood over top of the workshop area. The back wall where my bike is looking a little sparse because there's no workbench there right now, but I'm hoping eventually to get that filled out with some sort of workstation, whether it's a miter station or just some more workbenches and wood storage. I forgot to mention before, but once I take these shelves down, I want to do a wood storage rack against this wall and possibly put the miter station under the wood rack. Mainly due to the grade of the garage, having the miter station run long ways would mean a huge difference in elevation from each side, and usually miter stations are pretty long. But I don't think I'll be getting a miter saw anytime soon, so it might just get filled out with some workbenches. The general consensus of what I can see online from other woodworking channels is the miter station isn't really a needed thing. From what I gather, a table saw is a more useful tool. So in the future, I think I'll be looking into saving up for a table saw for sure. The first essential tool I need to buy is a skill saw. So I can break down lumber and possibly use some scrap lumber to make a makeshift track to make it into a track saw for cutting down plywood and sheet goods. This table being level now is great. I put some scrap plywood under the feet just to get it level. And it's pretty sturdy now. I mean, you can shift it if I give it a good bump, but I'll probably have to get some leveling legs eventually and figure out something to keep this thing sturdy. But just having it level, and I actually turned it 180 degrees to face this way. The clamps are right here, so everything's within reach. And this kitchen stool that I had laying around is great too. I'm gonna get another stool eventually, probably like a shop stool kind of thing, but that's another thing I have to save up for. I wanted this video to just be a dive into getting this area prepped for future projects and upcoming things that I want to do for the house renovation wise. So I'm actually a 3D artist by trade. I'm a 3D modeler. I work for a game company. I have been working for the last 12, 13 years. I'm sure I'm going to cut in some B-roll footage right now or some screen recording. So I've actually been modeling in Blender my plans for this place, for the workbench layout, for the miter station layout, It's pretty preliminary, it's pretty blocky, but I measured this whole garage. I measured all the workbench heights, almost like a pseudo CAD layout of what I have planned and where I want things for this workshop. It's been great to play around in Blender with just actual real world units. I can put in lumber dimensions into Blender and play around with how to build the workshop benches and little stations that I have planned and kind of move them around and lay them out in the 3D space before I tackle it in real life. So I think that's what this video is. It's just a kind of first dive into me getting this place put together. And I hope some of you stick around to see how it goes. It might be a slow burn. I'm going to get things here. I'm going to get some tools there. My plan is to post a lot more coming up with just building out this space and various projects I might be doing around the house, or woodworking projects, crafting projects. So if you enjoyed being here with me, give the channel a follow. I've got some small projects planned coming up, a fridge stand, some reno things. My backyard, I have a garden plan, so I'm going to be building some flower boxes eventually. And a big point I want to end on is if you have a comment or suggestion for this space, or woodworking in general, or crafting in general, throw it in the comments section. And my hope is to bring up these comments or suggestions or little tidbits, anything that you put in the comments. I'll try to bring it up in the next video. So again, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.